Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuhu. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My name is Nuruddin Sani. This is biology class SS1, second term, lesson 2. Katsina State Senior Secondary School Online Connect program powered by Exponential Computer. Our today's lesson is population characteristics. Population characteristics. A natural population is said to possess the following characteristics: population size, dominance, population density, percentage cover, population growth rate, population frequency. So we want to talk about population size. Population size refers to the total number of species of the same kind in a given area of a habitat. So when we say population size, it is one of the characteristics of a population. Any population must have size. So when we say size of a population, it just simply referring to the number of species found in a given area of a habitat. The larger the population, stand a better chances of surviving dangerous and unfavorable conditions such as fire, diseases, and other hazards of life, while a smaller population can easily be wiped out. So what are we saying here in essence? The larger the population, the better the chances of that population to survive natural disasters. Because if the size of the population is larger, no matter how the disaster is, still some members of that population survive and reproduce, leading to continuity of that population. For example, in a grassland habitat where you will find grasses, grasshopper, lizards, snakes, hawks, and other living organisms. So if you find 10 lizards in such small grassland habitat, meaning that the population size of lizard in that environment or habitat is 10. So the number of organisms found in an area refers to the population size of that organism. And for that organism to survive longer, the population must be higher. So the larger the size of the population, the better the chances of that population to survive longer. But the smaller the size of the population, the higher the risk of that population being swept out of existence. Next slide. Here is trying to show us the pictorial diagram showing the population size. In 1650, we are trying to point out the population size of human being in the world. In 1650, we have 500 millions of people inhabiting the world. As the key here indicated, everyone human being here representing 100 million. So here meaning that it is 500 million. So in 1750, that means 100 years after, the population of human being in the world have rose to 700 million people. A year after, that means in 1850, the population of human being is getting to 1.2 billion. This is the population size. Then another characteristics of population is dominance. Dominance refers to those species that exert a greater influence or a major controlling effect on the other species or members of the community. The relative importance of a species in a community is expressed by dominance. For example, in a grassland habitat, grasses are the dominant species. Likewise, in the forest, trees are the dominant species. Look at this diagram. It's trying to show us the dominant species by the right hand side of the diagram, while we can see antelope, tree, and some ants. In the other side, we have keystone species, but this is not what we are referring to. We are trying to explain the dominant species. So, in a natural setting or in a grassland habitat, the antelope is found in larger number. We will find grasses and trees, and these antelopes, they are what? They are herbivorous. Thorn tree find to be the food of antelope. The ants play a crucial role toward the composition of organic matter, thereby adding nutrient to the soil, which the tree and grasses will absorb the nutrient to facilitate their growth, increasing their number, thereby providing available food to the antelopes. So as soon as the antelopes is getting enough food, they tend to grow in larger number. So their number rise above the number of any other living entity in the grassland habitat, therefore providing enough food for carnivorous organisms or predators like lion, like hyenas, like tigers, and the rest of them. So any organism or any living entity in a natural setting or in a community of organisms that tend to have a larger number, that organism is referred to as dominant species. So the area will be dominated. This the dominant species in this regard, we see antelope, thorns, and ants. The larger the number of ants, the more decomposition of organic matter. The more decomposition of organic matter in the soil, the more nutrient to the soil. More nutrient to the soil support the growth of grasses and trees. More trees will now support the growth and reproduction of antelopes. So removal of any one of these three will now bring problem into the ecosystem. If there is no ant in the area, be it a dominant also species, so there will be less decomposition of organic matter. Less decomposition of organic matter in the environment will now reduce the productivity of grasses in the area. Reduction in the productivity of grasses in the area will now reduce the population of antelopes. Reduction in the population of antelope providing food shortage to predators. Reduction in the food supply to the predators will now decrease the community of organisms in natural setting, thereby causing low biodiversity in the area. Next slide. Population density. Population density is defined as the number of individual organisms per unit area or volume of the habitat. So the formula for calculation population density is equals to total population or population size divided by habitat area. For example, if a population size of rabbits in a habitat with an area of 30 square meter is 120 rabbits. Therefore, the population density of rabbit will be calculated as follows. Population density equals to total population or population size all over the habitat area. The population density will be equals to 120 rabbits divided by area of the habitat, which is 30 square meter. And then 120 divided by 30 will give us 4 rabbit per square meter. So the number of organisms per unit area is called population density, meaning that in every 1 square meter of a habitat you will find 4 rabbits. Next slide. Percentage cover. This refers to the area or space covered or occupied by a given species in its habitat, and it is expressed in percentage. For example, looking at this habitat, consider each box as 1 square meter, meaning that the total area of the habitat is 25 square meter. The plant occupying the square meters, you can see the square meters occupied by a particular species. So if you want to determine the percentage cover in this regard, you say percentage cover is equal to area occupied by a species all over total area of a habitat. So there is 9 boxes occupied by this species of plants, and then the total area of the habitat is 25. So you say 9 square meters divided by 25 square meter times 100%. Percentage cover will be equals to 36%. 9 divided by 25 times 100 equals to 36%. Next slide. Population growth rate. This refers to the net result of the influence of natality, that is birth rates, and mortality, that is death rate, of an organism in a given habitat. So when we say population growth rate, means the number of given births minus the number of deaths, the remainder referred to as population growth. For example, now in a habitat where you will find snakes, if you have 100 snakes in the habitat, and for example every year there will be additional 25 snakes by bats, and the death of 10 snakes in a year, meaning that the birth rate is 25, the death rate is 10, therefore 25 minus 10, you will end up having 15. So the 15 is the population growth rate per year. I'm repeating myself. For example, in a population of snakes, whereby each year we have additional 25 snakes brought about by bats, and 10 snakes die every year. So the net difference here, 25 snakes that is added into the population of the snake by bats minus 10 snakes that are removed from the population by death, which is equals to 15 snakes. So this 15 is called the population growth rate. For example, this diagram is trying to show us the population growth rate. This is the population of human being in a world population of human being. It's a globe here. You see human beings are thrown out of the globe. Those falling from the globe are removed from the earth or from the globe by death. And some are climbing. See, the ones are climbing from left to right. Some are climbing. From the right, you will have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 are climbing. That means 7 are entering the world, are coming by birds. From the left hand side, you see 3 are also climbing. 3 are also climbing. So this means that 3 plus 7 making 10 are coming, but 2 are thrown out. From the left side, you see 1 is thrown out, and then from the right side, 1 is thrown out of the world. This means that 2 are removed by death. So therefore 10 minus 2, which is equals to 8. This means that this population growth rate is 8. Are we clear? Next slide. Population frequency. This refers to the number of times an organism occurs within a given area of a habitat. So a habitat must have different areas, and you will see these organisms are distributed into their habitat. So the number of organism or living entity you will find in a given area of a habitat is referred to as population frequency. Looking at this diagram here, you will see that there are elephants, there are zebras, giraffe, and antelopes. So if you want to know the population frequency of each of these four organisms found in this portion of the forest, you count the number of zebra, get the total number is their population frequency. Because if you leave this area of the habitat, you get to another portion of the habitat, you will also meet another zebra. That does not mean that these are the only population of zebra in this environment. So the number of zebra here, you count the number of antelopes here, determine the population frequency of antelope. If you find the number of elephant, get the total number is the population frequency of elephant in this portion of the habitat. And as you can see, the giraffe is just one, so the population of frequency of giraffe is 1. Thank you for listening. We meet next class.